A to the K.
to the K.
To the K.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A to the K Wrestling Show. Where joining us today is wrestling royalty, WWE Hall of Famer, and subject of the hit movie The Iron Claw, the one and only Kevin Von Erich. Kevin, what an honor. Thank you so much for being here.
No, my pleasure. Glad to meet you guys.
Thank you.
Pleasure's all ours, honestly. So, as Carl mentioned, obviously the subject of the hit movie, The Iron Claw. So, I figured if we're okay, we could start by sort of asking how the idea of the making the film came about.
Well, to tell the truth, I really didn't have anything to do with it. I was, I live in Kauai, and I was out in the hammock one day, and my daughter came up and said, "Daddy, they're going to make a movie about us, about you and your brothers." And I said, "Well, what are they going to talk about?" I said, "Baby, get this guy on the phone for me. I need to talk to him and find out what he's going to say." And because I love my dad, and he was a good man, and I know he was a stern father. We all loved him so much, and we're a loving family. And so I just kind of was worried that my dad would look in a way that he didn't deserve, and so I wanted to meet the director, and he called me, and nice guy, real nice guy, and told me he'd loved the family for a long time, and so I was cool with it. I thought it'd be good for the business and good for my sons too, and so here we are. I'll say it wasn't historic, but it's kind of, there were details, I could complain about, but the fact is it was a pretty good movie, and I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, haven't seen the movie now. I'm just curious, what did you make of Zac Efron's kind of portrayal of you, and also the other actors' portrayal of your brothers?
Well, I thought Zach did a great job. A real professional, they excuse me, do a lot of investigating before they run the part, and the guy knew all about me. And the guy that played Dave, my brother Dave, Harris Dickinson, what a great job he did. He even fooled me a few times, man, little idiosyncrasies that my brothers would have. That how do you know that, And then the same with the guy that played with them. Hope Calamy too. Another way, in some ways, it just seemed like it was my dad up there for a minute.
Yeah.
And they just all did a great job. I'm drawing a blank on the guy that played Kerry, John David.
Jeremy Allen White.
Jeremy Allen White, yeah. And I thought he did a great job too. I just would like, take my hat off to all of them, and just they're real professionals. And so I've said it before, it's a real craft, it's a real skill that not many people have, and so I admire them for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
if you don't, that's right, go on.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Oh, it's okay. I was going to say, if you don't mind me asking, so what are your thoughts on sort of the omission of your brother Chris from the film?
Yeah, well, when you think of these guys that were trying to take 10 years, 12 years, and cram it into 2 hours, that's tough, and so I had to give them some leeway there. And
yeah, of course, yeah.
I understand what you mean. It was a little different, but it turns out, man, my story is pretty sad, and it can really bum a lot of people out. They're there to be entertained, for crying out loud, and so I didn't. So they thought that Chris would have been too much, too many deaths to get into. At least throw another hour on there, because it was just really bang, 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 and that's how my life was too. It was rough, and but man holds on. What you got to do. It's not that I was any strong, force of nature or anything like that. It was just I had no choice. I have a wife and children, and when you look at those innocent little faces that you brought into this world, and they're completely innocent, then you just get up and go. You got to make it happen. A lot of people know what I'm talking about. A lot of people have it worse than me, just the same as me. Or, it's just life. It can be really tough, and we have to be tough too.
Of course.
Yeah, you know, so resilient. Obviously, everything you've been through. I believe one of the things that you asked the director Sean Durkin is to accurately portray, obviously, how much you loved your brothers and how much kind of you know all the love you had for each other. Do you kind of feel that came across in the way that you wanted in the movie?
Yeah, I've been trying to, you know, for anything. Sean asked me how I liked it. You know, they played the movie for me. You know, and and so my hearing has been like I had a lot of brain concussions. You know, so my ears ring, the tinnitus they call it, and so it really drowns out any frequency that you know, like birds or some car alarms. I just don't hear them. You know, and
Yeah.
because of the tone that I always hear, and so to play the movie, and I really just, movies are like that. When they whisper or they talk, where they don't enunciate really, you know, then I guess I've just kind of given up on trying, you know, I just kind of watch the visuals and so after the movie, Sean said, "How was it?" And I said, "Great. It was great, man. Good job." But
Yeah.
I really hadn't heard the audio. I'd only seen the video, you know, and so later on,
Yeah,
I did audio, and I do have some little complaints about that, but I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say anything.
No, of
You know,
course. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, that's fair.
So obviously the movie's received a lot of critical acclaim. I just wondered how you found such a positive reaction to obviously your family's sort of life story and the sort of, I suppose, the notoriety that it's now got, sort of, I suppose, outside of the wrestling world on the back of that.
yeah. Well, you know, I hope I didn't misunderstand your question, but uh, I was hoping that the movie would give you know, like life is tough, and we have to be tough. But
Yeah.
I mean, there came a day when you know I'm a Christian, you know, and I mean I
Yeah.
just when you're down that low, you just reach up your hand. Is anything there, God? Are you there? You know, I mean, I had to know. I couldn't be listening to what other people thought. You know, that's never had any bearing on what I do. I guess I'm just not a follower at all. I mean, just
Yeah.
when somebody else does it that way, I'm thinking, well, that sure not be right the right way. I've never seen following a crowd be get me anywhere I wanted to go. You know, and so this, what the way I dealt with it was just me, my personal way. I can't tell other people that this will work for you. I just got back from Israel, I guess you guys, and after October 7th, and the kind of torment those people go through, not knowing where their brother is or their sister being raped. They
Hmm.
you know, I hate to say this, but you know what they did? They sent home, they kept the pretty girls and they sent the ones they didn't want. It's a terrible what they're doing over there. I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean, the people they're so savage. They even kill the pets. I mean, everything. Skewer them on the fence, this wrought iron fence. I could just go overboard. I'm sorry. I don't want to bum the people out, but
No, yeah,
and these people are suffering so bad. And I just wanted to, like, there's nothing I could say, so I just wanted to listen to them, you know, and kind of be there and hear it. And but see, I've got Jewish and Arab fans in Israel, and more Arab fans than Jewish, really. And
Yeah.
and they're so loyal. And I wanted to find common ground, you know, because I wanted to. But I don't know what Israel can do. How these people, they just murder children and old people. I mean, what are they expected to do? And I just felt so hopeless over there. And all I could
Yeah.
do was just listen, you know, it's like the world is sad and terrible stuff happens and we go through it, you know, and we comfort each other when we can, but man, life can be tough and we have to be that way. But be that way so that our women, our children don't have to go through it. We'll do it, the men.
Yeah.
So I just hope that the movie could have some kind of a bearing on people that would say, you know, I've seen it all. I've been hit hard. I know what it's like to suffer. And think, keep your head up, keep trying, keep fighting, don't give up. Encourage each other, love each other. If you're married, encourage him or encourage her, you know, and because a day is coming like God lifted me up and I find I can live in Kauai and I lived there for 20 years and I was just in the ocean every day, swimming night and day. I mean, I love the ocean. waterfalls and all that. And so I'll never sell my place out there. But I'm telling you, it just don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep trusting in whatever it is you want. Where you tell God about it. You keep it in your heart and laughing. Trust me. Just do your best.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, that's an amazing message.
Some hope,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's if we can kind of talk a little bit around your wrestling career. Obviously, you've had an incredible career inside the ring as both singles and in tag team as well. You know, Flair, Harley Race, the Freebirds. What are some of your favorite kind of matches from your career?
Well, I had quite a few different types of matches. There were some matches where you just see red, and but those aren't really good matches because you want to be in control, of yourself. And a few things. I'm the big brother, and I felt really protective of my brothers. But I like matches like there was a guy over from your part of the world named Billy Robinson, excellent, excellent wrestler, and he knew things that counters and reversals and takedowns that just no other people knew. I don't know where he got all this stuff, but every time I wrestled him, I took him on a few tours on Japan with him, and I just learned so much from him. And so he was one guy. I had a match with him. I think it was in St. Louis, and it's on YouTube, but you've got to listen to it in Japanese. But anyway, what a great athlete he was, and a real mentor to me. And I just would like to take my hat off to him and tell you he's a great. I really liked him.
That's awesome.
And if I may say, while I'm on the subject, nothing to do with Billy, but Chris Adams will be on the dark side of the ring soon. I think you'll see it out there in England too. But I hear a whole lot of terrible stuff about Chris, but I want to say this. He was on time and he did what was expected of him. And he was a great man in the ring, and he never backed down. I admire him so much. So whatever you hear from them, know that I'll always remember him as a good man and hold him in the history. So, that being said, I don't want to bum anybody out.
No, totally understand.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So obviously, while Carl mentions your wrestling career, one thing I was curious on, if you don't mind me asking, is obviously you made the pretty unique decision to wrestle barefoot, and there's a few different stories as to why that was the case. Some saying that you're having your boots stolen or reducing the weight after knee surgery. So I just wondered if I could ask sort of what the sort of the reason was for your wrestling barefoot, and were there any sort of negatives to doing so?
Yeah, well, probably all of those things happened because when I wore boots, I wore boots for a few years, and guys will hide your boots and all that kind of stuff. But the real reason that I took them off and left them off is actually the same thing with my brother Kerry and me. I'd had a lot of knee surgery. I was a football player, and I wanted football, and that was my drive right there. But I just wrecked this one knee returning a kickoff against University of Texas, and just took it out. And so then I was real gung-ho in football, and so I was going to come back faster than anybody else in a surgery, and blew my other one out, because trying got too quick. And then I had another surgery on the other one. So I was starting to jeopardize my career in any kind of athletic. And my dad was a wrestler. I promised him I'd give it a try. Yeah. And so I started wrestling but I had to rehab my knee first, and I just, that was a crush to me because I really love football, the collisions and all. It was a lot of fun. And, but it was just not for me. And so going into wrestling, you can shoot your knees behind you and go to your belly, and protect that part, and we're really good at that too. As a professional, you learn to protect certain parts of your body.
Yeah.
But and so with your knees like that, it was like you find other ways to protect yourself. And you have to imagine that it's really hot in Texas and Southwest, and in summers, it's a lot of buildings aren't air conditioned, and when you wrestle, all that sweat runs down to your feet, and your socks absorb it, your leather boots absorb it, and it's a noticeable weight. It really is, and especially if you got a bad knee. And I took it off and didn't wrestle with the boots on for a couple of times, and I just thought, man, this is for me because I can can fly, man. I could feel like I had no, you know. And so it was great. And you know what? Kerry liked it too. Kerry really would have done it too, except with that accident, he, had to keep his boot on.
Yeah. No, definitely. The Rock was very complimentary recently, obviously about your dad and your whole family when he was on the Joe Rogan show, and he mentioned obviously his father and his grandfather working for Fritz, and obviously you and Kerry worked in Hawaii for his grandmother as well. What memories do you have of Dwayne and his family?
Oh, what a great guy he is! So, I know his dad, Rocky Johnson. I don't know. You had to really like Rocky to like. He had some. I like him fine, but he was rough on that boy. I could see him like the boy sometimes, and you want to jump up and say something, but and I think one time he embarrassed him in front of the boys. It was pretty bad, and Fury went over there and said, "Hey, buddy, come on," and got him outside, and wrestled with him. Said, "No, my dad's like that too," and whatever, And anyway, they just made a real. He was a great kid. We used to wrestle with him too. He'd come to when his dad was wrestling in Texas. He'd ride to the shows just like us, be like his dad, and we'd get in the ring and play games. He was a little younger than us, but we liked the fight he had. He was a real sparked up little boy, and he was all boy. I'll tell you that he was fun to wrestle with, fun to play with, good kid. And Rocky was, he was just he grew up tough, and he was a survivor. He had to make it. He had a family, and life was hard, and he had to step up. And so sometimes personality and family go by the wayside when life gets hard, and I think they understood it. But Rocky was a good man. He may have made mistakes, but who doesn't?
Exactly. Yeah. So I believe also in the 90s, you actually ended up wrestling a young Stone Cold Steve Austin a couple of times actually. I just wondered what it was like, sort of working with Stone Cold, and were you able to tell that early on, sort of what kind of career he'd go on to have?
I knew he was going to be great the first minute I met him. I really did, guys. Believe it or not, Chris Adams trained that guy, and me. I trained him. I was an influence on him too, and we all want the kids well here. But this guy was like, we're going to a town, and we're going to make a road trip together. And we made a lot of road trips, but we were on this one town, and he had to do something, so I grabbed his bag to put it in the trunk, and it got all this tuna fish in it, the canned tuna fish. And I thought, man, that's the first sign you can tell that this guy's gonna make it, because he doesn't mind the hard road. He'll take the hard road. He's gonna get there though. He's just Texas. He's a determined, kick-ass fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So obviously in 2009, the Von Erichs inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. How did you find out that obviously your family was going to be inducted, and what does it ultimately mean to you to be in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Well, a man lives his life and he does his best, and then one day you hear other people, putting their voices together and kind of giving you some appreciation, and I don't know how to take all that stuff. All you can do is you do your best. And if my dad was a garbage man, then I'd probably want to be the best garbage man I could be. And we just play the hand we're dealt. I don't need any pat on the back. I don't consider myself any big deal. I'm a grandfather, and I love my children, and that's what I'm all about. I'm my granddaddy. When they grab my finger, I go. I'll go play monster truck or the crazy games they play. It's a great life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's the real important stuff.
Indeed. So obviously your brother Kerry signed with WWF in 1990, and around 16 months later, I believe you had a dark match with the company yourself. So just wondered, was there ever any talks of you signing with the company yourself?
Well, actually, I can go ahead and tell the truth about all this now, because the truth, I kind of have different values, and Kerry and I were different in that way. He would work out in that gym 3 or 4 hours a day, every day. And, but, I'd work out an hour and a half tops, but then I had, I did a lot of track work and swimming stuff too, but I just never, understood like what, for me, it was like I lifted weights, but it was because I wanted to be a better wrestler so I could do what I need to do in the ring. So my way when I wanted to demand my way, and so that's why I lifted weights. But Kerry wanted the bodybuilding thing. He wanted to look great. And it's a kind of a mindset that I think I just don't have. I just, but take that and think when he had that wreck and cut the end of his foot off. Now he still had his heel, but not his toes. It went kind of straight. So he had the heel, but not the end of his foot. And to Kerry, then he was a cripple. He was a freak. And he was just completely crushed inside about what he'd done. I mean, the drugs that he'd done, it just like Kerry was like a wide open Harley Davidson, flying down the highway. He loved to have fun. He didn't hurt anybody else, but he did hurt himself. And, he was so felt so bad and so down that, I love the movie, folks, but let me say this. The reason Kerry killed himself is because of that. He felt hopeless. He felt like he'd let us all down, all of his brothers. We're just, he thought he was going to go to WWE. See, my brothers, Dave, me, and Kerry, back when we were kids, we decided to come up with a wrestling show where it was like pro football, slow motion collisions, and like rock concerts with lasers and sound effects and the things you can do with that. And so we wanted to make a beautiful wrestling show like that had all of our stuff, but it would mean, because see, we were raised up in the business. We were boys when our dads did it, and that's all we know. And so we wanted to improve it. And so we thought we won't have 30 to 1 hour matches and 30-minute 1 hour matches anymore. Have 15 to 20-minute matches and make them filled with action. And it was a great. And so back to what we were saying about Kerry. Kerry was thinking he's going to take that formula and go to New York and take New York over. And I'll call you. And Kerry, I don't want to go to New York. I'm a father and I got children. I want to be home as much as I can. And if I can make the same money as New York and Texas, where I have time to do my real estate too, then I'm a happy man. And so I really never wanted to go to New York. It wasn't Vince's fault, it wasn't anyone's fault. They did ask me. I just didn't want to, But I wrestled all those guys anyway. And by that time, and I was kind of at the end of my career anyway, I didn't plan on getting old in the ring. I think I've said that publicly quite a few times. When men get old in the ring, it's a sad thing. I didn't want to be like that.
But I mean, speaking of obviously the opposite of that, the youth of the ring, your sons, Marshall and Russ, obviously continuing the Von Erich legacy. We got to see you all recently for AEW in Dallas. So I was just wondering what that whole AEW experience was like.
Man, I love those people, really. It's a great. And I know this is anything, but the catering was great. What good food. Man,
love it.
And the people are real nice. And Tony Falk is something else. Every company needs a guy like that, somebody that loves the business, that remembers that can look at the business like it was his first day every morning. That's that guy. And so I have a lot of admiration for him. He's a really fun guy to talk. And the wrestlers, all great guys, old friends. Edge and Chris Jericho were up there, and I think they were up there. I'm not sure, but wrestlers come and go. That's the difference. In my day, we didn't have contracts. We were all independent contractors. So we'd fly different territories and do our thing. But now it's a different world. People are on contract, and you got to go to this town to see that guy, and it's not that way. It wasn't that way before, but maybe it'll go back to that day again. I bet it will.
Yeah. He seems to be getting a bit more of it these days, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely.
So, speaking of Marshall and Russ, is there any chance we may see them in AEW again in the future?
Oh, they've already been to England a couple of times. They went to the Gloucester. How do you say it? They do the show up.
Gloucester.
We're British, so we're probably not saying it right.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of in a way they've kind of like organically been kept away from the public because, we went. My sons know how I think, and I bought a place out in Kauai, some acreage out there, and some a river runs through our property, and we raise sheep and goats and tilapia fish, and so it's like I can't run that place myself. Ross and Marsh run that place, and so yeah, you guys could be on the road, but who's going to take care of the ranch, and you know, I couldn't push that too hard, but I mean, they had their hands full,
Oh, of course, yeah.
and then came COVID. Then came this COVID things, and because of COVID, they had to wrestle in buildings where no people. I can't believe that. I don't think I could have ever done it, but in a way, it kept the public from seeing that first explosion. And I mean, that's what makes wrestling great. I mean, you put your heart in it, and when you go all the way, it's just a thing of beauty, And I just know that
Yeah.
great day in wrestling is coming back. Maybe independent contractors, wrestlers that travel around, maybe it's just a pipe dream of mine, but I think wrestling's coming back to the believable, get in the ring if you think you can kick my ass kind of match. And I think my sons are ready for that one. And it's going to be a great day in wrestling when that day does come. But in the meantime, we'll see what happens. But I know whatever it is, my sons will be on top of it because there's no more COVID and there's no more business. It's every day is fun. Every day is can't wait to wake up and have more. And so get ready for the Von Erichs because the England they are coming.
That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Can't wait. So just while we're on AEW, obviously Sting has just retired at Revolution this past Sunday. I'm just curious, have you seen any of the match, and obviously what are your thoughts on Sting's career and his retirement?
Oh yes, Sting. He is a really good athlete and a really nice guy too, and a really wise man too. I'm telling you, he's a buddy of mine, and I tell you, he's 64 years old and to get in the ring. He's one of those healthy guys. He's too healthy because I think that should be like a crime. It's illegal for you to be as healthy as he is and be at 64 years makes all of us look like crap. I wish him all the best of luck too.
Yeah,
definitely.
So lastly, what just on AEW while we're talking about it, it's obviously one of the people in AEW who has also been in the film Iron Claw playing Lance was MJF. So I just wondered if you've had a chance to meet MJF at all.
To meet who now?
Sorry, Maxwell MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Or he's something else. He's one of those just like Steve Austin. I knew when I met him that he was going to go. I just did, and because in wrestling you have to, we have some pretty flamboyant personalities, but and wrestling needs people like that. But if it wasn't, if it wasn't that way, it would be a boring place really. And these guys have got to have it inside them or they can't bring it out. Guys like Michael Hayes, people say, is he really that big of an ass? You got to meet him, but they got to get it somewhere, and that's where it comes from. And I have to say with MJF, he's a classic example. That's him. He's a good guy, but him, man, it really is. I say a good guy. He's the way he is, and he's not going to change for anybody. You got to admire that. A man to stick to his guns like that too. I mean, you got to say he'll do it his way. He did it his way, so good for him.
Yeah, definitely. I was just curious, obviously, and apologies if you get asked this all the time. Who is Kevin Von Erich's Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
Oh, really? Golly. I do go way back, and I could, if you guys ever, there's some wrestling stories. Have you ever heard the story of Mighty Milo, the first world champion that was challenged from Europe and came to America on a ship and didn't trust banks and wanted to be paid in gold? And that's where we get the gold belt from.
No.
And the ship was either torpedoed or crashed or something, and he would not forfeit the gold and drowned. And that was the story of Mighty Milo. He was the guy that, maybe you've seen it, he could pick the cow up on his back, you know, and he was super strong. Mighty Milo, they called him. This is Sam Muchnick, the promoter, St. Louis. Yeah, you know Sam Muchnick. He's an institution. Sam Muchnick is St. Louis wrestling, but he told me that story, and he had a million stories like that. Yeah,
that's awesome. I have to look at that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
but, so the Mount Rushmore, and of course it'd be just the two of us, you know, him and me, you know.
Love it. So obviously, us being Brits, I just have to ask: have you spent much time sort of across the pond in the UK? And if so, what do you have any sort of particular favorite memories from here?
Oh, you know, I did think about, you know, that before we got together for our interview. I just want to say about Chris Adams, and I'll tell you, I went down to Cornwallis, or down to Exeter. Now, I took a train down there, you know, and saw Chris's family, and I just want them to know that, you know, hear all of this stuff, but there was a good side to him too. He was a good man, and all this stuff we hear, you know, take it with a grain of salt, because I knew him to be a man of his word, and I just wanted the book to say that, you know. So,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So about that, just salute my brothers across the pond. I hope you're all having a great day. Sleep good tonight, and well, it's the middle of the day here, so we'll catch up with you on a little bit. But anyway, I'll talk to
you. So obviously, you've recently hosted Stories from the Top Rope, an evening with Kevin Von Erich. How fun has that kind of been? And is there any story in particular where that maybe gets a really great reaction from the crowd?
Well, I don't know. You guys sound like you're from Scotland. Are you Scottish?
We get that a lot. So
yeah, surprisingly,
we're from Liverpool, so home of the Beatles, but maybe a little bit of a northern twang.
I did one of those DNA searches myself, you know, and I couldn't. I was thinking I would never did have like a hairy body, you know, I didn't have hair under my arms and whiskers and stuff till I got really old, and I thought, I must be an Indian, you know, like you know, Apache or something. And so my wife sent the thing in to test, and it turned out I was 97.9% totally British, and Welsh, like 2%.
Oh, wow.
And so I mean, everybody else I know, they have like a little of this and a little of that, but how come I was like 100% British? That's almost 100% British. It struck me. I think we're talking about, I think, it sounds so comfortable for me to say, excellent choice, sir. Thank you. Excellent choice, sir. You know? So I think I was a butler to the elites at one time.
To be fair, that accent's spot on. To be fair,
you can do a better British accent than us.
So I suppose lastly from us, you know, reflecting on your family's legacy, what would you like people to remember the most about the Von Erichs, both inside and outside of the wrestling ring?
You know, that when you're thinking about the guy that went through all that, you know, and know this, that I'm as happy as I could be, and I have I look forward to every day, and my brothers were like that. That when I look at my lives with them, yeah, you could say that I was ripped off because they died in their 20s. A lot of them did, but you know, they did a lot of living in that 20 years, and we've been around the world over and many, many times and seen. We have dive sites that, you know, that's hard to even pronounce, you know, but we had a lot of fun. We just enjoyed ourselves. We didn't hurt anybody. We did maybe hurt ourselves a little bit with the party, and you know, but it was like we could have anything we wanted. That's quite a big deal for a kid, you know, and we loved our fans. We loved them back, and so now to this day we have the most loyal fans ever. I mean, I can't believe it was over 40 years ago that I wrestled, and or that I started, and so it's like to still have fans. I'm just grateful. I'm so appreciative to be held in that regard, you know. So thank you guys so much.
No, thank you. Honestly,
That's awesome.
absolute legend. We can't believe we've had the opportunity to speak to you. So thank you so much for taking the time. And obviously, yeah, before we let you go, how can everyone kind of keep up with yourself and everything you've got going on?
Well, I'm about to take my grandsons and go dive in the river. We're going to dive about 10 minutes from the house, going straight back in the field, and we're going to go in the Guadalupe River. It's crystal clear, but I knew you guys were about to go to bed. So sweet to you guys, and I'm going scuba diving. So
That's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. Good night.